We had a special guest in the store yesterday. He's here to talk to us about his character, King Oblivion, PhD. If you weren't able to stop by on Saturday, check it out.
My name is Matt D. Wilson. I'm the author of the King Oblivion series of books, the newest of which is Supreme Villainy, his life story. I'm also the writer of Copernicus Jones, Robot Detective, a noir thriller mystery story that mixes science fiction and noir all in one.
Tell us about the Doctor.
Well, King Oblivion PhD is a character that I created, it's got to be probably 10 years ago now, and he's kind of a happy accident. I wanted to write for a comedy website that I had created, and I was writing for a newspaper at the time, and didn't want to write under my real name because I was writing some stuff that I didn't necessarily want my bosses to see. So I came up with this idea for a website called the International Society of Supervillains, and this character named King Oblivion PhD. Dr. Doom has always been my favorite supervillain character, kind of my favorite comics character. And so he's sort of a take on Dr. Doom, but he's also my personality turned way up, with all the ego and sort of bad impulses just really taken up to 11. So he's close to but legally distinct from Dr. Doom, and he's also a lot of me. And sort of that's how he came to be, and I started writing more and more in his voice for this website, and kind of realized that I could write more as this character. So I wrote the Supervillain Handbook just kind of on my own, not even really knowing that it would be published anywhere, just for the fun of it, and maybe to self-publish. And then that ended up getting published, and then I wrote the sequel, the Supervillain Field Manual, and now his life story is here in front of us.
That's really cool. A big part of writing is research. And what kind of research did you do for a supervillain?
Well, first and foremost, I would say a lifetime of reading comic books is probably the number one research that I've done. Like, so much of what is in all of these books is my own experience of writing comics and what I know about all the different tropes of supervillains and the different storytelling things that come from supervillains and how they interact with superheroes, what's unique about them. So that's a big part of it, and in addition to that, there are hints and direct and indirect hints in all three of these books about, supervillains that you can read about in comic books, like, name drops of the Joker or Lex Luthor or Brainiac or whoever, and then also just kind of like the storytelling ins and outs of what happens with supervillains. But then, in addition to that, the new one, particularly the life story, Supreme Villainy, I did a lot of research into real world history, because this is his life story. He was born in 1912, and this goes up through early 2017. So I kind of researched 100+ years of history just to kind of insert King Oblivion PhD into real world events. For example, in chapter 1, he is born at the same time as a big earthquake that hits Alaska. So his contention is that when he was born, he made the earth shake. So there's that kind of stuff in here where I'll kind of research real-world history and sort of insert supervillains into it.
Yeah, what advice would you give to a new writer?
The thing I would tell anybody who told me that they wanted to write comics or novels or comedy books like I've written, anything like that, I would say is just do the work. Don't try to put your cart before your horse and get published before you write. Write something and then show it to people. Get it out there. Self-publish it. Self-publication is one of the best ways to get people to pay attention, because you can say you're a good writer over and over and over again, but unless you have something to prove that with, nobody's going to know that. Yeah. So do the work, have it, publish it somehow, and there are so many different ways to do that now that weren't available even 10 or 15 years ago. And then get it out there. Go to conventions, table, show it to people, put it in front of editors. Be annoying be persistent at the very least, and hopefully, you know, something will happen where it can be published to a wider audience. But you know, you just have to chip away at it and never stop writing. If you feel compelled to write, whether you know anybody's ever going to see it or not.
That's really good advice. Thanks for coming out to the store, Matt.
Thank
It's good
you.
to meet you.
Great to meet you too. You can find all of my social media presences, Twitter, Instagram, my podcasts, and links to all my books by going to mattdwilson.net. That's where you'll find links to everything that I do.